Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Vanessa and you are watching the Exploring Oracle, or the Exploracle for short. So lately I have been going through my entire deck collection and putting them into categories, showing you each deck and letting you know whether I'm going to keep it, whether I'm going to rehome it, or if I'm not sure about it. And this week we will be going through my nature-based decks. So I am quite drawn to nature-based art. I feel like as a city girl, I use the deck to connect with that energy to help ground myself, and yeah, so I have a couple of decks here under that category. So let's start off with the Meraki Tarot. So this is the second edition of the deck, and this is by Bouchette Designs. And so it has these, before we go into the guidebook, it has these extra cards, actually the key phrases or the key meanings for the majors. And then you have here the associations for the wands, the cups, the swords, and the pentacles. You have, there are a few oracle cards in the deck as well. And then some associations, crystal associations, and astrological signs. So even if you didn't have this workbook, you can work with this deck. Okay, and then these are the cards. We have really beautiful backs, edged in this green. And I absolutely love the art. Now the cardstock is in rose petal, which I'm not too fond of. And yeah, that is actually one of the reasons why I don't really work with this deck that much. And I know it's just my preference. Some people do love the rose petal feel, but I just prefer a linen cardstock, or even a mass market cardstock that's easier to shuffle, especially when I do overhand, because this one would stick together. So the art style on this deck is really quite, it's nature based but also a little bit magical. It feels like it's not really in this world, and even though the imagery is familiar, the mood or the setting feels different. So I absolutely adore the art. I love the energy, but I'm actually not sure whether I'm going to be keeping this deck. And I think it's mostly because I don't really like handling it because of the cardstock. And there are some rose petal finish cardstocks that I don't really mind working with, but this one feels particularly sticky. But I mean, the art is really beautiful. And yeah, there are a few oracle cards in this deck as well. And then let's take a look at the guidebook or the workbook. So you would get this or purchase this separately. I did back this on Kickstarter, so I got like the set. So I like the fact that it has crystal associations, because I do love crystals and I love working with energy of crystals. So here you have some layouts. So some spreads here. There's also crystal tarot grid. I haven't done a spread this big yet, but I am excited to try. These are also the information that you would have on the cards, extra cards. And then you have here some prompts before you even go into the actual cards. And for the majors, or for the cards, you would basically have here information. So this is like your main guidebook. So you have here the card name, the associations, the light and dark keywords, meanings for the light and dark, and the crystal association. And then on the right side, you would have your reflection. So interpretation, reflection, and tarot and crystal notes. So that, I believe, is how it's set up for all of the cards. So even the minors. And you know, I got this primarily because I do want to work on this workbook, but I don't know, are you the same? Because whenever I have these like beautiful journals or beautiful workbooks, I don't want to write on them because I feel like I'm going to ruin. That's weird, right? I don't know. Is it just me, or do you feel the same? But it's like it's too pretty to write on. So I was actually thinking of putting like post-it notes on each card so I can remove it, or I don't know. I'm not yet sure. So I haven't really gone through this workbook yet because I don't want to write on it. And actually, if I will be rehoming this deck, because it's a maybe as of this point, I might still keep the workbook because I really do want to work with this one. And I still like this deck, but I don't know, I don't reach out for it that much. And yeah, because of the cardstock, I'm not sure if I want to work with it a whole lot more. Now, she does have other editions of the deck, but I'm not really sure if she changed the cardstock. I do know that she changed the font names at the bottom, which is also one of the things that I have trouble with. So I'm just glad that but I don't know, if she has a linen cardstock, I might consider getting another copy. Okay, so this one is the Pythia Botanica Oracle Volume 2 by Layla and Olive. So this one I got secondhand from a friend. And so the guidebook, so this it's just a small guidebook, and basically you just have the name of the plant and a small phrase, and then the meaning. Now, I believe this guidebook is not alphabetically arranged, and also does not have a table of contents. So if I recall, whenever I would pick up a card, I would have to search through the entire deck or the entire little white book or guidebook to find out the meaning, which isn't really the best experience. but yeah, so that is the guidebook. These are the backs. These are the cards. Really good quality cardstock. It's matte and gilded in this matte gold. I love the quality of the cardstock. It shuffles well. I can also side shuffle it quite easily. It also has a slight rose petally finish, but it's not sticky. So I don't know if it's just been worked more. That's why it's a little bit more slippy now, or it's really just feels like rose petal, but it's not. But anyway, I do prefer the cardstock on this deck. The art is different. I got this because I didn't really have anything in my collection that kind of had this vibe, but I also don't use it much. And I'm not really sure because it also feels a little bit shadowy to me. So it's not something that I pull the way I use my oracle cards, just like a message or energy for the day, because it kind of feels a little bit shadowy, and that's not usually the type of energy that I want to work with on a day-to-day basis. So this doesn't really have much of play in my collection or in my practice. So but it is lovely, and the quality is also really good. So I'm not sure about this, but I also think that this is a maybe in my collection. So that is the Pythia Botanica Volume 2. Let's choose. Okay. I think I'm going with all indie, or I do have majority indie decks in this category. Okay, so next deck is The Song of the Grandmothers, and this is by Kara Simons. So this is a 66 Oracle card deck, and I love this. I love this deck a lot. Now, the guidebook has so much information. I also really like how Kara writes the voice. And then you have here like Kara's story, grandmother energy, how to use the deck, and then suggested spreads. And then you have these categories. So we have decks for cards for self-love, harmony, growth, possibility, and service. Oh, and destruction. And it's you have here the colors. I believe this is, if I remember correctly, her Prairie Majesty guidebook is also like this with the color coded at the side. So for each of the groups. So you have here some spreads. Yeah, with Prairie Majesty. And then you have like 2 pages for each card. And the write-ups are really good. They have such a supportive energy to it. Supportive but also straight to the point. So it really tells you like it is. The messages that I got from this deck and what I reflect on when using this deck is really spot on. So I really like this. I really like Kara's energy because I do feel that the creator's energy also makes its way to the deck, and I do enjoy working with this particular deck. These are the cards. Oh, you have some blank cards here so that you can draw or make your own grandmother or oracle cards. I am never going to do that because there's no way I am going to make something that I added, with something this beautiful. I have no artistic skill whatsoever. So yeah. So this is what it looks like. It's really beautiful. You have the grandmother name here, a keyword, a small or short poem, and it's just so beautiful. I find it so beautiful and relaxing, and I love the colors. Really beautiful art. And I love that it's 66 cards. An oracle deck of this size, you can just spend, you basically have so many cards or so many messages that you can get. So yeah, this is the Song of the Grandmothers. And it pairs so well with the Gentle Tarot by Mary in the Sky, and that is because she illustrated this deck. But yeah, I really love this deck, Song of the Grandmothers, so that is a definite keep. Okay. Okay, so next we have these indie decks. So these are all from Soul Trees. So you have, I think it would start like this. You have the Soul Trees, the first one, the Soul Trees Ascension, and then the Soul Seeds Oracle. There is another deck here, a small, I do have another deck from Soul Trees that is smaller, but I already showed that in my mini decks collection. So maybe I'll open this all at the same time so that you have an idea, of what it looks like. Also show you like the guidebooks or the little white books. Okay, so right off the bat, you are going to see see that the little white books are really just very little. So there's just a little sentence or phrase or keywords for the words, but she does mention that you can really, this is not supposed to give you the meanings. You're supposed to get it from your intuition. So I have I don't know, I like working with guidebooks, so I usually look for guidebooks, but I don't mind that it's actually not that this guidebook is not that thick, because there is something about these cards that make my intuition work, or at least it's simple enough because it's just a one-word message for each card that it essentially really does force you to get a message from that card. And the difference, oh, by the way, so the Ascension is pretty much the same as the original Soul Trees, but for the Soul Seeds, this is like a, what you call this? Yeah, it's like a it's not like a book, so it's more like a fold out, but you still have your keywords for the keyword for the card. Okay, and then the card stock is semi-matte, semi-matte, semi-glossy, I don't know, satin finish, because it still catches the light. So it's not matte, but it's not exactly glossy. Now I wanted to show you this side by side so that you would have an idea if you actually need one, both, or you know, just, or all of the cards, like or all of the decks like I do. I think they are similar because they do have a similar art style, or they do have a similar energy, or they do have a similar look to them, but they do have different energies, it seems. And I don't know if it's because of the way the keywords are written. So this one feels, the original one feels a lot more direct compared to the Ascension. The colors, I wouldn't really say that there is a predominant palette in each of the decks, because it's, I mean, there's no dominant color being used. So basically you have essentially a range of colors across all. This is my favorite though. For some reason, the Ascension deck is my favorite, and the Soul Seeds is my least favorite. And I don't know if it's because of keywords, or I honestly, or it's just the vibe that I'm getting. But for me, these two, the Soul Trees and the Soul Trees Ascension, are definite keeps in my collection. But the Soul Seeds is a maybe. And it's different enough, but I don't know. I think it's like the more cosmic-y feel of the Soul Seeds that's making me feel less connected to it, as opposed to these really strong nature or grounding energy that I feel from the Soul Trees decks. I don't know, does that what's your opinion on these three decks? I mean, they're all equally beautiful, but I do think that I will be keeping these two. Definite keeps, but the Soul Seeds I might rehome. Might. So it's not sure. No, it's not definite. I am also thinking that, of listing down all of the keywords that are on these cards, and I want to kind of do that to all of my Oracle decks that have more of these like single keyword kind of things, just to see how much the same keywords come up, like a statistical study of keywords on Oracle decks. Oh my god, I'm feeling very geeky when I say that, but yeah, that is something I'm interested in doing. I also noticed, now that I have these three all together, the cardstock on the Soul Seeds is a lot thinner than these two. See? But it is thinner. It feels thinner compared to these two. So yeah, so I don't know. But it's also so beautiful. So yeah, I'm not sure about Soul Seeds. I find it beautiful, but the vibe or the energy from it is different than from what I get from these two. So these two I would be keeping. And for Soul Seeds, I might be rehoming that deck. Okay, so let's just put these to the side again, and let's continue. Okay, next, let's take a look at these two decks. So this is the Druidcraft Tarot, and this is the Celtic Lenormand. So let's start with the Lenormand. So this one, I think I've mentioned before that I am learning Lenormand. It's still, it's still not my preferred divination method. And as you can tell, I am having trouble with this box because it does not have thumb cutouts. So I just want to show you how the struggle is real. Okay. We're finally there. All right. So I am learning Lenormand, and I do have maybe like less than 10 Lenormand decks. This one was recommended because it has a really good guidebook. So it tells you about introduction, what makes this a pagan themed deck, gods and goddesses, some additional cards so you can choose your deck. The Wheel of the Year, Dark and Light, affirmations, how to use the cards. So there's quite a lot of information on this deck. Spiritual tradition. So you get an introduction, a decent introduction, and you also get a really good description or meaning of the cards. Because aside from the keywords, it also associates with the person, playing card association, description, the meaning, spiritual readings, dark and light meanings, how to use it in spells, affirmations, and the associated deities. So there's a lot of information, which is why I got this as well. Even though I already had some Lenormand decks. So this is the newest or the latest Lenormand deck that I have in my collection. And here, it's definitely a pagan themed, nature-based kind of deck. But since essentially you have the same set of cards for Lenormand, you know that you would be finding a woman, you would be finding clouds, birds. I'm not saying what I'm seeing on the card. I'm sorry, but I'm thinking at the top of my head what cards are in a Lenormand. You also have extra cards here. So I just chose, these are for the birds. I just chose my preferred birds, for example. So you have your extra birds here. I think this is for, a cat or a dog. And then your man and woman cards. And then the rider card, I chose a woman rider, if I recall my choices correctly. So so we have your choices there. The card stock is nice quality card stock. Shuffles really well because the size is also quite easy for me to handle. And so that is the Celtic Lenormand, and yes, we'll be keeping that in my collection. Okay, next is the Druid Craft Tarot. Now this I believe is a foundational deck or a classic deck. I love that it has a really big guidebook, but I wish it was a little shorter, and I wish that the packaging didn't have these two pile kind of situation. Now I did modify my deck. I have trimmed off the borders because there were bigger green borders on this deck originally, and I did edge it in this bronze color. And so definitely very nature-based and pagan, and I love this deck. I don't really use it much anymore, but there's something about it, I think because it's such a classic that I know I just want to keep it. And I did spend a lot of time modifying it as well, so that it would be easier for me to handle. That I definitely don't want to part ways with it. The cardstock it's not completely glossy, but it does reflect the light. Okay, so that is the Druid Craft Tarot. If you have this deck, did you also trim off the cards? Because I only did that as well because I saw it and I was so in love with how it looked. Okay, so this one, I got this from eBay. I believe this is the only deck I ever got from eBay. And this is the Healers of the Earth Oracle by Mandy Peterson. And I think that there is a newer, this is an indie deck, and this particular version is no longer available. I don't know. I believe she now has a borderless edition. And I wish I had gotten that, but this one was on eBay and it was at a really good price. So I just jumped at the chance because I love nature-based decks. So Healers of the Earth sounded like something that I would like or I would love. So we have here about the cards, These are not feel-good cards. So, but they do have a gentle or supportive energy, at least most of the cards that I've picked. Using a spread, the oracle's message, and for each card, you have here the keyword, you have a thumbnail, and then you have the upright and reverse message for each card. There's a lot of information, or there's a lot to think about with the messages on these cards. And the art style, I also do not like this because it sticks to the, it slides to the bottom, and if you pull it out, I think if it was glued better, it might not be an issue, but I don't know, I'll try and glue it back. But yeah, so if I recall, the backs of the cards have these groupings again. So spiritual hygiene, industry and technology, hypervigilance and illusion. So there's those categories as well, but honestly, I don't really look at that, or I don't really mind that categorization for this deck. I just pick a card, shuffle and pick a card, and that would be the message that I would be getting. And it's gilded in this silver gilding, but it doesn't really feel sharp. It is glossy. And the art style is a mix of, I don't know. It feels like there are fairies, there are mythical creatures in this deck, and then there's also like the dining table. So I put it in the nature-based category, even though there's a mix of the cards, because of the theme, the general theme, that it's more about connecting with the earth, connecting with nature as well. But the images don't necessarily look all nature-based. And then there are some, I don't know, it's a weird deck. In a good way, you know, but it's just not it's not the usual like nature-based deck when you say nature-based deck. But yeah, you have houses here like going off grid, and I think that also has to do with the groupings or the categorizations. I haven't really studied the deck much because I really just shuffle and choose a card and read the meaning. But I believe that if you really look at or read through the guidebook, there would be some insights there, and it would explain this deck further. But I do love the art, so I think it's really the art that that made me bid on this particular deck, and I got it. So I'm glad that I did. This is the Healers of the Earth Oracle, and I will be keeping this one in my collection. Okay, so maybe let's do some mass market decks first. This is the Herb Crafter's Tarot. This is a really brilliant deck. I have not spent as much time as I wanted with this deck yet, because there are some basically you do have to go through the associations here to really understand the meanings of the cards, but just reading through it, looking through the images. So in the guidebook, you have here the name of the card, the associated herb, like a small phrase or it's not a small phrase or affirmation or poem, and then it has the meaning, the description of the card and the meaning here, and some actionable items, crafting with the card. So I like that, and I think that once I do have time to really get into this deck, I would really enjoy it as well. And I do love the art. So this, it's like what you call that, a first person view. So it's what you see. So it's like you can put yourself, or you can see the images or the whatever the herbs are laid out in front of you. So I do like that composition. Is that the right term? So let me know if I'm saying it right or I'm just using the wrong words so that I can improve in future videos. But basically how it's laid out, it's like a crystal grid but with herbs. That's how it appeals to me. So yeah, I do like this deck. Definitely will be keeping it. It's not something that I work with a lot as of now, but I do recognize what I can be learning from this deck. The cardstock is a really nice, I mean, it's a good sturdy quality. It snaps back. Easy enough to shuffle even though it's a little bit bigger. And not exactly glossy, but again, reflects the light. So that is the Herb Crafter's Tarot. We'll be keeping that. Next, this one is also new, relatively new in my collection. This is the Dirt Gems Plant Oracle Deck and Guidebook. And this is the mass market edition because this deck used to be indie. And I got it because of the guidebook. Because a lot of people rave about this deck. So you have here some spreads. And then you have the cards. It's in full color. So you have the plant, the keywords, and then the meaning, the write-up. So since it's relatively new, I haven't really had time to work with it. I've shuffled it a few times and drew a card. And I have enjoyed the readings that I got, but this isn't something that I have really studied and eventually want to study as well. Yeah, so that is a guidebook. Really well-made guidebook, I think. I don't like this box-in-the-box type things. But yeah, there is a top box here containing the cards. But I do believe the overall quality of this deck is well made. So for a mass market deck, it feels indie. I mean, if you didn't tell me this was the mass market edition, I wouldn't have thought that it was mass market. Now, it is gilded in this matte gold. It is in this thick matte cardstock. It's easy enough for me to shuffle. Even though it is relatively thick and relatively long, I can shuffle it and I can also overhand it. And yeah, I love cards that have black background and really bright colors on the cards themselves. So I do enjoy this layout, this choice of colors. And even though I'm not familiar with herbs or plants, I mean, there's so much to learn, I do enjoy just looking at this. I like the imagery. Now, I do wish that instead of the name, there was a keyword. But yeah, maybe as I get to know this deck more, I would be able to associate or put in my own keywords when I use this deck so that it becomes more my deck or more bonded to me. I just need to spend more time with it, but definitely I keep in my collection. Okay, and then this is my last mass market deck before we move back to indies. So this is the Soulflower Plant Spirit Oracle by Lisa Estabrook. So this I got when I was starting to become interested again in working with plant energy. The guidebook for this one is also quite informative. It has introduction, how to support growth, blooming, garden cleanup, rest and renewal, and plant spirits. Oh, sorry, creating a daily practice. So there's a long introduction and you learn a lot on that introduction part of the guidebook. And that's before you go into the meanings of the cards themselves. So you have basically 2 to 3 pages for each card. And I do like that there is always a prompt. There's also an affirmation. So I like these types of oracle decks. You know, I may not use them always, a lot, but when I do, there's always something to learn from it. And the cards themselves, they have these different colored backs. They are matte. It bounces back quite well. And on the cards themselves, you have the image, the name of the card, a keyword, which I love, and then a small message already. So you don't even need to go through the guidebook. So this is great for like those times when you just need a message. So I would usually pick these like one card a day pulls, usually in the morning or in the evening when I'm winding down, when I'm just either too tired or just woke up and I haven't really woken up my mind yet to think. So these are great for that. More of a nighttime deck for me, I think. I usually pull these types of cards when I'm ready to wind down for the night. I love the imagery, I love the art, and it's a very, very useful deck, at least for my practice, and I quite enjoy it. So this is the Plant Spirit Oracle, and Soulflower Plant Spirit Oracle. And the reason I corrected myself is because I do have another deck that's called the Plant Spirit Oracle that I'll be showing you in a bit. But yeah, so this one, I keep as well. Okay, so we're moving on to the last set of decks, and they're going to be all indie. So let's start with these two. So this is the Earthchild Tarot. I got this secondhand, and I was so drawn to this art, and I don't know why. Honestly, it feels so connected to me. I mean, the art style. I think it's because I feel like I can draw something, or if I were to draw something, it would look like this, and that doesn't. It doesn't mean, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just love it. It just feels connected to me in some way. I love it. I love this art. It connects with me. I don't know. I can't explain it. And it's not exactly nature based on the imagery of the cards. But again, because it's the Earthchild Oracle, the energy or the vibe that it gives and connecting with the earth is why I put it in this category. These are the backs, really beautiful. It's also gilded, rainbow gilding. And let me show you the guidebook. It's not that extensive. So there's just some information on the elements, the suits, numerology associations, planets, the zodiac, and then you have a spread, and then already you have just a keyword and a short message for each of the cards. Now I don't use this with the deck because I can always go off the meanings that I know, but it's also more of I connect with this deck in a different way. And I don't know if you call that intuition or if you call that, I don't understand. But yeah, it just speaks to me in a different way. And it's not even just with the meanings of the tarot. It's like when I pull a card, like this one, the Ten of Cups, I don't see the typical imagery for the Ten of Cups. And I don't just feel the meaning of that contentment or that fulfillment or that happiness, but there's something about seeing all of these hands reaching out that makes you feel like my support group, or my what do we call this my support group, or my support structure is complete. I feel protected, I feel safe, and I don't know, that's how this deck speaks to me. So it's really quite special, and definitely a keep. And one of those decks also that when I play with it, when I pull it out, and when I look at it, it gives me goosebumps, or it makes me feel tingly. So I have a couple of decks in my collection that make me feel that way, that, and you know, but it's not, out of, let's say, the 300 decks that I own, probably less than 10 make you feel that way, and that is one of them. So that is definitely a keep. Okay, the next is the Way Home Tarot. So this is by Baccara Wintner, and the guidebook for this is the WTF is Tarot book. I do have that on my Kindle, and this one is one of the best shufflers in my collection. So it shuffles really well. So I do enjoy that, and that is a big part of my practice. The art, I enjoy the art, and I like that the people are usually these silhouettes. It's like, I'm not sure how to explain. There's some cards here that remind me of the Sasore Bito, which is another one of my favorite decks. It's nature-based, because you see a lot of the elements here. You have animals, you have flowers. So beautiful. And yeah, I do love working with this deck as well. I'm just getting lost looking at the images, getting distracted. The cardstock it feels thin, and for people who don't like this type of cardstock, you know, they might not like it, but I love this kind of cardstock. I think it's because I love riffle shuffling. It also overhands really well. It still feels sturdy. I mean, I have not had issues with this, and I shuffle this whenever I get the chance. And yeah, that it just feels good when I work with this deck. And sometimes I don't even read with it, I just shuffle it, and it helps me focus or calm myself, or center myself, basically. So this one I will be keeping, definitely keeping in my collection. So that is the Way Home Tarot. Okay, so next we have the Forager's Daughter Tarot. This is I think there was a name for this edition, I just forgot. Afterlight. Let me see if I can. No, it's probably not on the guidebook. I don't know. But basically, this is the Forager's Daughter Tarot, and I got this primarily because of the guide. It is a hardbound book. It was mentioned several times in the best guidebooks for tarot. And I think it's because you really do get a lot of information here. You have your information on the suits, the moon phases, the court cards, additional arcana. And for each card, basically you have a dissection of the card, the compass, the reflection, the keywords for the upright and reversed, and then the associations of, or the meanings of the cards. And basically, if you would be doing a study, this would be a great study deck because you have all of this information. Now, since I don't know, it's not that new in my collection, probably had it for a few months, but I haven't really worked with it because I do want to spend time with it. I do want to, you know, really focus my energy on learning, because that's why I got the guidebook. I mean, that's why I got this deck, because I want to study. Now, I do love that the cardstock here is something that I also enjoy working with. I'm not sure if it's linen. I think it is. Yeah, it's linen because of the texture, but it's not as textured, basically. It shuffles really well. So these cardstocks, the types of cardstock, are the ones that I enjoy working with, the ones that I can shuffle. And it is a little bit glossy though. And the art style, while not completely something that I resonate with or I prefer. I think it's because it feels like it's the art is too small, because it's in this frame, but it is beautiful, and I do want to dedicate time to this deck. And you know, the reason why I'm also doing this collection series is for me to realize I have so many decks that I want to spend time with, that I still have not spent time with. So I don't really need to add anymore until I've gone through or worked my way through the decks that I already have. And this is a beautiful deck. So of course I will be keeping this deck. I think that the quality is really good. And yeah, the guidebook itself, I mean, look at it, it's really beautiful. And it's also in a beautiful clamshell magnetic box. And cardstock, perfect cardstock. Okay, so that is the Forger's Daughter. And then the last deck in my collection is the Plant Spirit Oracle. So this one is from the same creator of the Trees, Tarot of Trees. So by Dana O'Driscoll. And guidebook. I mean, look at it. So I think there's also I don't recall if I got another deck. Wisdom of the Trees, I think there's one from the same creator. I did not get that yet, but I might. I forgot, but yeah. So I have this in the Tarot of Trees. So this one, matte cardstock, not gilded. These are the backs. I think it's watercolor. Basically, this type of art just draws me in. I mean, I enjoy looking at it. I mean, look at this bear. Yeah, and basically you have the name of the plant and the keywords, which is great because you just need the keywords, right? And if you do need more information, you have this massive book that you can refer to. I have not used this deck though, but that's simply because I do have several decks in my rotation already and I haven't gotten to this yet. But absolutely going to be keeping this. I'm in love with the art. I love her art style. I love the Tarot of Trees, even though it's just trees. But yeah. So, and you know, just looking at it makes me connect with nature. And I think that's really the point of having this entire category of nature-based decks, because that helps me connect with that energy. And living in the city, in such a congested city such as Manila, this does help. So that is oh yeah, let's take a look at the guidebook, because I just flipped through it, but want to show you the details inside. Those are the cards. And so you have here the Plant Spirit Oracle, Medicine of the Body, Medicine of the Spirit, Methods and Traditions used in the book, a note on invasive species, a note on plant identification, an overview of the Plant Spirit Oracle, and then information on how to use the Plant Spirit Oracle for divination, and then you go into the oracle meanings. So you have all of these pages for the introduction, and then you have some spreads, you have some meanings, and then that is when, some principles. Yeah, and then you go into the actual cards. So you have the name of the card, I believe the scientific name, the keywords, and then and then all of this information. So you have these phrases to describe apple trees or apple, the divination meaning in herbalism, or how it's used, and then you have recipes. So that's really cool. So some of these plants though are not familiar to me since I don't live. I think a lot of these plants are not available here in the Philippines, but I still want to learn from them. So that is how the guidebook is set up. And you have here at the end, sorry, just want to show you that aside from the meanings of the cards, okay, yeah, you have here another chapter on inner work, making offerings to plant spirits, how to communicate with the plant spirits, some ceremonies that you can use. Now, I don't necessarily follow or would follow some of these, but it's good to know this information. And then, how to work with plant medicine. So there's really a lot of information that you can get in this guidebook, which is why I'm excited. I'm excited to work with it as well. So, okay, so those are all my decks. So let me pick my top 3. Song of the Grandmothers. And then let's choose Earthchild. And for the last one, so probably one of the Soul Seeds. The Soul Seeds Ascension. So these are my top 3 in the nature-based category. And I hope you find this video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click on the like button and do consider subscribing to my channel. See you again next time. Bye!